Didn't the Navy have a accident on rail lines somewhere in this region several years back?
Yeah.
Can you tell us about that?
Well, I think it was in '87. You know, we were here, in fact, to meet the rocket motor shipment. We were going to have a demonstration here. And, you know, we were going to come on a particular day that I knew it was going to arrive, and the thing had derailed the day before. And what the Navy had said, you know, reporters were asking about it, and what the Navy had said was there was nothing explosive on the train. And it said, you know, we knew that wasn't true. It said Class A explosives on the side. And, I mean, for that particular thing, I'd filed a Public Disclosure Act request, and like a year later it came, and there was, once again, I can't remember. It was something like, there was this, the Trident 1 is the C4, which is a lot smaller than the D5. And it was something like 150,000 pounds of TNT equivalency was on the train that had derailed. So it happens. Actually, I think in year 2000 or 2001, this particular railroad, you know, not long after they bought out the stretch, they had a rail car full of scrap metal that they lost control of, and it coasted right into the Puget Sound Pacific, or excuse me, yeah, Puget Sound Naval Shipyard parking lot. And oddly enough, it happened on Martin Luther King Day, I think 2001, or probably, you know, quite likely would have killed somebody. The car went off the tracks, flew through the parking lot, I guess. So that's, you know, they have accidents with these things. Yeah.
In the accident that was on the rail line, didn't the Navy deny that there was an accident at all originally when it first happened?
Oh, in 1987?
Yeah.
That one? No, it was off the tracks. No, it was, in fact, the Seattle Times, I think the papers were covering that particular shipment because they knew there was going to be a demonstration against them. They were covering the demonstrations a little closer then, and no, there was pictures of it off the tracks.
Okay, because I seem to remember that the Times title to the article somewhere in there said Navy lied.
Yeah, they lied that there wasn't anything explosive on the train.
Okay.
That's what the lie was.
All right.
Their words, not mine, but that's what they said. Yeah, they lied. The Navy said they were just misunderstood or the questions or something, but a couple different reporters asked them and got the same responses.
So the warheads used to come down these tracks for the missiles.
Yeah.
Now how do the warheads get into the base?
They're on trucks. The last white train demonstration was in February '85 was here, and as a result of that, there were so many people arrested across the country that the Department of Energy decided that they could no longer ship by rail. There was too much publicity, too many people out watching the thing. So at that time, they had a shipment, I think, that summer to Kings Bay, and that was the last time. '85 was the last time. In February '85 was the last shipment into Bangor on the tracks, and then they started shipping by truck on the highway.
Were you here during that those white train?
I was arrested on the last white train demonstration. A reporter here, Lloyd Pritchett at the Bremerton Sun, and I tried to find out how the warheads were getting in, because, you know, they could conceivably fly them in, but it would be illegal to do that. So we weren't sure how the warheads would be getting in. You know, it took some time before we realized the train wasn't going anymore, because it used to go every 6 months into here. So after about a year, we realized something else is going on, and then it took until about, I don't know, 1989 or 1990. We got documents from the Navy that said they were shipping them by truck. So, and incidentally, I mean, they plan on refusing all the warheads here. There's 1,760 warheads on the base, and I believe 1,600 of them are for Trident, and they plan on refusing them and upgrading them in the future. And all of those, I mean, which I find pretty shocking. All of those warheads are going to go down I-5. I mean, they go right through Olympia, and probably down to Portland, over to, you know, through northern Oregon, probably through Utah, down to Pantex plant in Texas. And I was always kind of curious if there's any other way of doing that, refusing them or if they could do them on the base or not. But I did get some documents from the DOE that said that's the and Aldridge said this too, Bob Aldridge said this, the warheads are sealed and they really can't be opened. So the only place where they can open them is at Pantex. So they're definitely, the 1,600 warheads are definitely going back to Texas, and that's the only way they can ship them is by truck, because they don't even have rail cars anymore.
So when you say refusing, you mean to put new fuses into the warheads?
Right.
Is that
they want
correct?
to make them so they can even explode closer to the ground. So it's just this ongoing effort by the military to make these things more accurate and to make them, do more what they want them to do. Like if they want to take out bunkers, so the thing will actually detonate closer to the ground.
When you say that there's, of the warheads that are here, that 1,600 are known to be for Trident, what would the other warheads that are here be for?
Well, the 160 are believed to be for the cruise missiles. And they were taken out of Fairchild. And there was an article in the Bulletin of Atomic Scientists recently that said something to that same effect, that there's about 150 or 160 cruise missile warheads here.
But wouldn't those be used on Trident too?
Well, as you know, I mean, they're talking about rebuilding. Well, they're going to do it. They're going to rebuild 4 of the Trident subs to carry Tomahawk cruise missiles, and each of the subs would carry 154 cruise missiles. What the Navy's saying is they're going to have conventional warheads on. We know that the Navy has kept up the ability. They've taken nuclear weapons off their surface ships, but they've said, and they've said this openly, that they have the capability to have nuclear warheads on their submarines still, which on their cruise missiles on the submarines, which they don't do yet, but they still have that capability. What the Bulletin of Atomic Scientists article said recently was they figure in 30 days they can rearm the Tomahawk cruise missiles for nuclear capability. So I don't know. It seems to be more than a coincidence that, a few years back they shipped in 160 nuclear warheads for Tomahawk cruise missiles, and then here we're going with the conversion to convert the Trident submarines for cruise missiles, and here we already have the warheads here. And at the same time, the administration, the DOE, they're talking about more usable use of nuclear warheads and the tactical use of nuclear warheads, where they used to talk about a large exchange of nuclear warheads where you're taking out countries. Now they're talking about the tactical use of nuclear weapons to take out bunkers or whatever, cave systems, I suppose, political leaders, and they could load these on these cruise missiles, of course, and that's probably the likely way that they would deploy these tactical nuclear weapons. Pretty sad but true. I mean, it really looks bad. I mean, it looks like, the gears are wound up and we're heading in this direction of the use of tactical use of nuclear weapons. I mean, everyone in the administration is talking about it, DOE's talking about it, the weapons labs are already working on it. The gears are in motion for these subs to be converted. I mean, it looks like the likely scenario. I mean, how long can you talk about using something and doing something before you actually do? Before the event that you're planning for and preparing for actually takes place, and you use the nuclear weapon, and you've broken that threshold. And your political opponents that you're using this stuff against may have nuclear weapons too, and they're probably not going to be so slick as being tactical strikes that we have the ability to aim in. They're just going to hit whatever they can, and conceivably would be the start of a nuclear war, and we'd all be involved. But that seems to be what they want to do, and they keep working in that direction. And when they talk about Tomahawk cruise missiles on Trident submarines, it seems like a pretty, you know, Patty Murray and all those folks think, hey, this is a good use of our ships, but you know, these guys, you know, DOE and military planners, I mean, they're doing what they want to do. I mean, they'll take that system and use it any way they want, and they're certainly planning for it, I'm sure. So.
And right here we are roughly 20 miles away from downtown Seattle right now. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's right.
The heart of the U.S. nuclear weapon system resides just 20 miles from Seattle.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, the lawsuit that we have going is just about that, you know, the fact that when they load, this is on the regular Tridents, you know, on the D5, when they're loading the D5 on the submarine, I mean, there's a lot of handling on the base. One thing, they have to take these rocket motors and assemble them. And a missile is like 25%, or excuse me, like 95% propellant. A missile is, D5 missile is almost all propellant, so it's basically just a big stick of dynamite equal to 155,000 pounds of TNT. And they assemble these rocket motors, and then they take it into, they've got these different buildings that they do this assembly on, but I think it's like, there's a vertical missile packaging building where they actually take the missile and set it down in the ground, and that's, I believe that's where they assemble the warheads, put the warheads on. With the missile, you know, you've got this massive missile. It appears like it's in the ground, well, in this concrete area. Do their work, then they got to pull the thing out, lay the thing down again. It's a 130,000 pound missile with the nuclear warheads on it. So they got to, that's probably a process in itself as far as handling. And then they move it onto the explosive handling wharf, and then they pick it up again. You know, they have it on a truck that's flat, and then they have to pick the missile up again and put it in the submarine. And that's the issue that we have. That, you know, the catastrophic accident would be if they dropped it, the rocket motor, you know, the propellant will detonate, so there is the capability, you know, the thing would detonate and it would spread the plutonium off the warheads at that point. You know, the Navy's pretty weird with some of their documents. When they were talking about the safety of these things, they said in 30,000 missile handling evolutions, or 30,000 missiles that they've handled, they seem to think that this is makes us so we can sleep at night. They've dropped 2 of them, and this one was for a Polaris missile, and one was for a Poseidon, and they're a lot smaller than a D5, and the propellant isn't as volatile either. And one, I can't remember, one of them hit the bottom of the sub going 15 miles an hour, you know, because it dropped. The other one, it must have slid in the sleeve or something. It was going at a slower speed. But it was like a couple miles an hour, the other one too. Because they have the missiles inside of a sleeve, and they set the sleeve with the missile in, and they lower it into, it's probably about as safe as you can go. I mean, they lower the missile through the sleeve into the submarine. But the thing's 44 feet long, it's massive. Incredibly heavy, 130,000 pounds. And then you've got the other 23 missiles. Say if you've got a loaded sub and you're putting in the last one, you're dropping this last missile in with the warheads on top of it inside of a vessel that's got 23 missiles already in it with their warheads on top, and the whole thing, the propellant on the whole sub is equal to 3.7 million pounds of TNT with the nuclear warheads, up to 190 nuclear warheads. Plus then you've got a nuclear reactor on the sub on top of it. And you got these people, and you know, I don't envy them. I wouldn't want the job of the crane operator on the explosive handling wharf, you know. And you know, I mean, it's a horrible job, you know, that what they're trying to do and what they're trying to accomplish, you know. And hopefully the guy doesn't party a lot or have problems with his girlfriend, you know. I mean, he's just a regular guy like you and I, and he's handling this stuff, you know, this incredibly explosive stuff with the nuclear warheads on. And he's trying to lower this stuff into a Trident submarine, and that's his job. I mean, I wouldn't want that job. So accidents, you know, accidents can happen. We've seen them happen. They've dropped 2 of them, and 30,000 times they've handled missiles. We've seen rail cars go off the tracks. Well, they've done worse than that. I mean, the rail cars have gone over with rocket motors have gone off cliffs in Colorado. We've seen them coast into areas in Alabama where they got away. And it's just, you know, they've been lucky so far, but you know, how long will it hold out? You know, how long can you handle these things with such catastrophic? You know, they have such a catastrophic result if there's an accident. How long can you do that before there's an accident? Besides the point of whether we should be doing this at all anyway, the Navy is willing to put us at risk in order to deploy this weapon system. And it used to be, they used to do this work out at sea. They used to have tender ships. They'd actually handle the missiles out there. But it's like in the mid-70s, they wanted to be able to do this on a base. And as Kitsap County gets more and more heavily populated, I mean, as you say, Seattle is 20 miles away, but I mean, Kitsap County is pretty heavily, more and more heavily populated. Coming into this area, we see the new housing developments and stuff just looks like they're just a couple miles away. And you really start to wonder, at what point do they decide, there's too many people around here to be handling this kind of stuff? Because they could handle it at sea. They could, it's more difficult for them to do, but they can handle this stuff out at sea.